golfers, this is Dean with golfallyear.com, and I'm here to help you learn how to break 80 using your very own swing. You don't have to change much with your swing. You just have to know some of these secrets to breaking 80. So if you want to break 80 and you just don't want to spend a lot of money, or you don't want to totally change your swing, then I have some answers for you. I have done this with my swing. I am working towards breaking 80 still, but it has completely changed my game, and I hope to help you change yours. So after you complete these 6 lessons and make a few slight adjustments to your swing, we will help you break 80. So let's get started. All right, lesson number 1 is learning what it takes to break 80. I think it's very important that we get in our mind what our goal is and what it's going to take to get it done. Also, it'll help us be able to measure our progress and really see where we're at. There are 60 million golfers in the world, and only 10% of those golfers actually break 80. And there are some certain things that all these golfers have in common. All of 10% of these golfers have these common characteristics. And if you can focus your practices based on these characteristics and focus your practice on trying to improve these things, you also can break 80. First one, in order to break 80, the first key is greens and regulation. And what a green and regulation is hitting the green in a certain number of shots. If it's a par 5, greens and regulation would be 3 in order to give you 2 putts. They give you 2 putts to get your par. And so by getting on the green in 3 on a par 5, that is called a green and regulation. On a par 4, it would be 2. Again, giving yourself 2 putts to get it in the hole for par. And so on a par 3, it would be 1. So you need to be on the green in 1 and then 2 putt for your par. And so the first key here is greens and regulation, in which you are shooting for 8 greens in regulation. Those people that break 80 usually get around 8 greens in regulation in 18 holes. The pros are between 11 and 13. So we don't need to be up there that high, but what we do need to be is at 8 greens in regulation. If we can focus on that, hitting the green on our approach shots more and being more consistent with that, you also will be on your way to breaking 80. Most average golfers tend to hit 3 or 4 greens in regulation, and so we need to increase that and get that up to 8 so that we will be in the best position to shoot a low score. The next factor in breaking 80 is total putts. You're going to need to be a good putter. You don't need to be a great putter, but you do need to be a good putter. You need to be able to make your 5-footers and your 3-footers, and you need to be able to leg putt and get the ball close so you avoid 3 putts. Most people that break 80 have 31 total putts or less. Okay, and so you can see that you're limiting your 3 putts and you're 1-putting a few of the greens. And so again, that's going to play into our approach shots and our wedge shots, our chipping to help us with this. But we really have to concentrate on our putts and making sure that we are under 31 putts. Our third factor is fairways hit. And many golfers play golf to try to drive the ball as far as they can. And there are many golfers that can hit the ball 300 yards, but they don't hit the fairway. And so a drive that goes 300 yards but is in the rough or behind a tree doesn't do us much good. We want to focus on hitting fairways, and everybody can hit a fairway if you really concentrate and you really work on your game. Okay? It's very important that we try to hit 61% of our fairways. Okay? 61%. So, you're looking at 6 out of 10 fairways you're hitting, and you're in good position to score. Okay? We want to be in the fairway, not in the rough. The rough oftentimes is very difficult to hit out of, and the average golfers percentage of hitting our greens, which we know we need to do, goes down when we're in the rough. And so if we have to club down or we have to work on certain clubs to get that percentage of fairways hit, 61% is what great golfers do. And a big one that I have really focused my game on is hitting par threes in regulation. Getting on the green on all the par threes 75% of the time. If you can be on the green 75% of the time, you are, most courses have, 4 or more par threes on them, 2 each side. And so you're talking, if you are on the green on your par threes, that's, 4 or 5 pars right there. And so we're on our way to our greens in regulation. We're on our way to 80. And so by keeping our greens in regulation on our par threes at 75%, we really need to focus on our approach shots and our short irons to do that, and being able to really dial in those short irons. And if you look at this chart, you can see that another factor that you got to keep in mind is how many pars do we need in our round and how many birdies do we need. Okay, and the golfer that breaks 80 on 18 holes averages about 9 pars during that round. They also will average almost 2 birdies around. And so if you're getting birdies, you're going to have to get your short irons dialed in and your wedges dialed in, because this is very important. And that's why the last slide showed you the factor of getting on the green in regulation on par threes. Our goal is to try to be within 15 feet on the par threes so that we have the best shot at birdies. We want to have birdie attempts. We want to be able to get the ball close. You'll also see on this chart that we don't want a 3-putt. Very important that we get our leg putts close when we do hit our greens, and that we avoid those 3-putts and penalty strokes. Again, that goes back to fairways hit. We want to be in the fairway. We don't want to be behind trees. We don't want to take any penalty strokes. Penalty strokes set you back in your attempt to break 80. So what type of game do players that break 80 have? Well, I'm going to tell you, they are great at their short game. Their short game is what is going to save you strokes. They're not looking for length off the tee. Looking for length off the tee is not the answer. Everybody wants to hit the ball a long ways and think that that's going to shave strokes off their game. That's not true. The average golfer is hitting the ball off the tee anywhere from 215 yards to 230 yards. There's not many people that are driving the ball 300 yards. And so by not looking for length off the tee, you are now able to focus on having a great short game. And this is what Bob Rotella, one of the best golf minds around, says. He says it's the easiest way to take 5 to 15 strokes off your game is by getting in the mindset that you're going to be a good short game player. That's putting, that's chipping, that's your wedges, etc. And so the first thing that I talk about with having a great short game is you need to be able to dial in your short irons. You saw that some of the factors that we're looking at, your approach shots, this will allow you to hit more greens in regulation. We're looking for 8. So if we're really good from 125 to 150, we are going to hit more greens, because you're going to face a lot of those shots in your rounds. You're going to face a lot of shots from 125 to 150. And if you're able to hit the green in regulation and then you're a good putter, you're going to be able to score well. It also allows us to hit closer on par threes. Dialing in our short irons, you're going to face a lot of short irons in par threes. We want to hit 75% of them. And so by dialing in on the par threes, we're able to, dialing in our short irons, we're able to really attack those par threes and get our pars and birdies there. Also, you want to be able to dial in, having a great short game is meaning you dial in your wedges. You're able to chip and putt. This allows us to get closer for our birdies and pars. You are going to miss greens. You are going to, you're not going to hit every green. As you see, 8 out of 18 greens. And so many of your greens, you're going to miss. And so, but if you're really good at your wedges and you have dialed in your wedges and dialed in your chipping, I know I've really practiced on using a lob wedge. I had a moment where I went up to a course and I forgot to bring my pitching wedge and my 8-iron because they were on my simulator in my simulator room, and I forgot them on the course, and so I had to adjust, and so I began to use my lob wedge for shipping, and this changed my game. I was able now to hit it so much closer, and I was giving myself birdie and par putts all over the place. I was able to save par if I missed the green. I was able to make birdie more often when I did hit the green, and so by dialing in your wedges, you're able to give yourself a better chance at scoring low. You will see here that the PGA Tour average from 90 yards away is 14 feet. And so our goal, and we'll use the OptiShot to do this, our goal is to get it into that white circle on the driving range. That white circle is 15 feet. And so if we can be in 15 feet with our wedges, more often than not, we're going to give ourselves great chances to break 80. Now that we know what it takes to break 80 and what golfers that break 80 actually accomplish, now there's certain steps that we need to take, and the next lessons will kind of go over each of these different steps and take you through how to get this done. The first step you're going to see in the next lesson is how to self-reflect, and it's very important to be able to look at your strengths and weaknesses. And then we're going to talk about how to get a baseline, how to use the OptiShot simulator to get a baseline for measuring whether we're making progress on breaking 80. And then the next lesson is going to be one of the most important lessons. This is where we talk about purposeful practice. We talk about having a practice plan and knowing what to do each time you step in the driving range or step in the simulator. You have an idea of what you're going to be practicing. And then we're going to give you some simple adjustments on how to look at your swing and adjust your swing to best break 80. Not changing your swing necessarily, but adjusting your swing, making these adjustments, and show you how to look at your game and make adjustments to your game that will best help you. And then lastly, we always want to talk about putting for dough. We want to be a good putters, and so what did I do, and what can you do to be a good putter? Everyone can do it if you have a plan, and hopefully you see through these 6 lessons that it will give you a plan on how to break 80, and it will give you an idea on what you need to do and what you need to accomplish. And so please take the quiz at the end of this lesson and see how well you know what it takes to break 80.